I'll go back just a little bit to share the story. Some of you I've met and seen and known, and you've heard my story, and you're going to get tired of hearing it at some point. Others, it's the first time. So we'll try to make it kind of quick, and then we'll kind of say, where are we headed? Where are we going? As you well know, back in October, November, we were reading the newspapers in Oklahoma City. I live about 100 miles from here, and it was kind of unusual because my dad was grieving over a college. Now, my dad made 3 Ds and 3 Fs his senior year and somehow graduated with a D minus. And so, and didn't push us to go to college as kids, wouldn't pay for us to go to college. And so my kids just thought it was hilarious that my dad is grieving over a college and stuff. And, but we understand the value of an education. My dad grew up very poor, didn't have opportunities to go to college. He needed to do it just for survival, so he got out in the workforce and stuff. But as you've heard us share, we did not know the Roberts family personally, didn't know any of the regents, didn't know any of the faculty or staff members of Oral Roberts University. Obviously, we didn't graduate from here. I'd been on the campus one time in chapel with Steve Saint back a few years ago. My family had never been on campus except for a Maybe Center event, you know, the Gaithers or something that came through there. So, but we did know alumni. We did know you. People just like you is who we knew, as well as students. I have 3 or 4 students at ORU right now in my local church. And it was alumni who represented ORU. It's what I call the fruit of ORU. We knew the fruit. There is great fruit that comes off the ORU tree. And through a time of prayer and all that stuff, and God had, back in July, we met as a family. Once a month we meet as a family, and we had sat down and said, God's going to bring something into our life. Hobby Lobby had done some miraculous things over the last 2 years in Hobby Lobby that we knew we were going to have an opportunity to give to another ministry. So we were praying for another ministry. Now, I'm involved a lot with the Middle East and all around the world, so I assume it's going to be one of those projects, you know. And so it was incredible to see how God had opened doors for us. And then through a process, we called and just started trying to find out what was going on. Can we help? Should we help? All those kind of questions. And to tell you the truth, there were some days we'd say, yeah, we ought to help. We'd read the newspaper and say, what are we doing? Let's don't help. You know, this looks like a lot of problems. This looks like a lot of, why would we do that? You know, kind of stuff. And so I have a father, I have a brother, a sister, a cousin, all of our spouses. So there's 10 of us praying, saying, should we get involved? Should we not? And then it was the day after Thanksgiving when Richard Roberts stepped down. It sent a message to me that the students, the faculty were more important than a reputation, that the division needed to take place, that there's 2 ministries here, all of those kind of things. And so at that point, we had been in somewhat of a communication, but we called Billy Joe Doherty, and I see that he's here today. Billy Joe, appreciate you coming. His wife with him, and so great supporters of ORU, have done a great job. We served as the interim president, said, Billy Joe, if we got involved, how would we do it? And he says, well, we got a board meeting in 3 days. You know, why don't you guys come up here? And we're like, oh, man, you know. So, again, we, on a Sunday night, my brother and my father got together and say, well, what would we do? I mean, we can't give without asking for change, and we've never done that before. Typically, we look for high stewardship in a ministry. We work really hard, and if you work really hard as a ministry, we like to give. We like to partner with high stewardship, and that wasn't the issues, you know. We'd heard the Higher Learning Commission talked about finances and governance and leadership and stuff like that. These were not our opinions. These were opinions of people who loved ORU and stuff. And so we knew significant change had to be a part of that, so we kind of got a piece of paper, drew it up, and again, Billy Joe was just such a great bridge during this time. And again, I would like to hear a round of applause for Billy Joe and what he's done for ORU. I know you guys know that. He was the bridge. We couldn't have gotten here without Billy Joe. We walked across Billy Joe. We partnered together, and that's how we got here. And his love for the school, obviously, we all know that. You guys, most of you know Billy Joe well, I'm sure, and stuff like that. So, again, I honor what he did as part of the story. And so anyway, one thing led to another, and we said, look, we need like 90 days to come back with a better proposal because, again, it's just me and my brother and dad on a Sunday night writing up a proposal because we didn't have a lot of time. We needed due diligence, and we knew that the Board of Regents needed due diligence on us. You know, who is the Green family? Why are they getting involved? What are their intentions? What are their deals? So really, you got to understand this went both ways, you know, because it wouldn't be right for the Regents to say, yeah, we'll make significant change without knowing something. So it was a two-way street. And again, Billy Joe was the one that helped facilitate that process. A lot of good days during that process, a lot of tough days, to be honest with you, you know, and stuff. As they try to figure out who are you, what's your motive, you know, and we were the same way. So, but anyway, on January the 14th, we came back together, had a more defined proposal with the Board of Regents. Oral was in town for that event. Also, along with the regents, with obviously Richard Roberts was there, and they told us they would hear our proposal and they would come back in a couple weeks and vote on it. And I was relieved, because I thought, well, good, because we told you 90 days, but we did this in 45, and Christmas happened to be part of those 45, so I need a little bit of time just to breathe, because we've been going nonstop these last 45 days. But by the end, Oral, the regents all voted, no, God brought you guys here. You guys take this to the next level. And so, oh, okay. So we walk out, and there's all these cameras and press conferences and all this stuff. And so here we go. And then, of course, on January 29th, it became official. There was some paperwork that had to be done and all that stuff. And we had our first board of trustees. We changed the name to Board of Trustees, and that was just a little over, 120 days ago, 4 months. So in the last 120 days, we've been trying to do lots of things and get things going. And we're excited. Several of the regents, 5 of the regents stayed on. Some of those are here today. And I appreciate now them serving as trustees. They brought up a lot of historical and capital with them. They know the history. I think 10 of our 19, if I'm not mistaken, of our trustees are ORU alums. So obviously we want people from ORU that understand the vision, as well as we wanted outside people that could come in with new ideas, new visions, new gifts. So we look for people that had gifts that could add value to ORU. So we got ministry type people, we got business people, we got educators. And so I'm really excited about the Board of Trustees. Those are on the website if you haven't gone there, and hopefully you have. And you can see their names, their bios, and know as much as you can about those. The other thing that we did was to appoint an interim president, and obviously you know that's Ralph Fagan. And again, an incredible bridge, an incredible partner has been Ralph Fagan. He's done an incredible job as interim president, and I'm excited to be partnered with him. And as you know, the gift was given, and instead of our family deciding, we tried to make as few decisions as we could. We didn't want to make decisions. We wanted the decisions to be made in a shared governance kind of model. So we turned it over to the administration and Ralph and said, Ralph, here's $62 million. What do you guys want to do with it? And so they took that challenge up and had plenty of things, of course, for the list, and brought that back. The Board of Trustees looked over that and made some minor changes, really. We went with the administration. They're the ones who live here. They're the ones who operate daily. And so, as you know, the debt was at $55 million. We've been able to reduce that down to $25 million. So we put $30 million of that against debt. Some of it went to teacher salaries. Some of it went to student scholarships. And a lot of it, if you go on campus, you see that there's a lot of renovation going on, a lot of updating of our buildings and all that stuff. So that is going on. But we also knew that we have a problem bigger than that. $70 million doesn't take care of our problem. We need other people to get involved. And so that's what the trustee says. We want to be a part of the answer. And so the trustees came together and says, you know what, nobody likes to pay for debt. I mean, it's really hard to raise money for debt. I mean, it's just not, people aren't motivated by that. So we said, well, we'll take that part on. For every dollar you give to ORU, we'll put $1 against that debt, up to $25 million. And as you hopefully know, over the next year, through next April, that's the challenge the Board of Trustees has put out there. For every dollar you raise to help for improvements, teacher salaries, all the different things that ORU needs, then we'll do that. And so, so we're in the middle of that, and we're excited about the Renew the Vision campaign. So far, we've had 3,800 people join that campaign because I had 2 goals. One was a dollar amount. The other was I wanted 20,000 people involved. ORU needs a family of people to come around it and support it. It doesn't need one family. It doesn't need 5 donors. It needs all of us coming together. And as I've shared many times about my grandmother was a pastor's wife, had 6 children, never pastored a church larger than 100. So she didn't have a lot in this world financially. So she would sew little doilies. And she would sew these little doilies, and my grandpa said, what are you sewing the doilies for? So I'm going to raise money. He said, what are you raising money for? Missions. And my grandpa said, I'm giving the missions offering. She said, no, I want my own missions offering. And so she had sew those little doilies, and if nobody would buy her doily, she'd buy her own doily just so she could have a mission offering. If you gave her a Christmas gift, she tithed on that, even though her son went to school without shoes. But it impressed my father. It wasn't the amount she gave. We still have not outgiven my grandmother. I asked Dad, okay, we just gave $70 million to ORU. Have we outgiven Grandma now? No, son, we haven't outgiven Grandma yet. Because we given out of our excess. My grandma gave out what she had.